I did it. Okay, so for me. So we are doing chapter 50 today. Just while I remember, I'm going to be away next week and the week after. We're going for a week to our children, please God. So yeah. So, very exciting. Okay, so chapter 50, in the days of, so it's one of these chapters which probably we say, and we don't always look so carefully at it, and it's a strong chapter. It's a chapter that was said in the days of Chizkiyahu. Every time the Jews came to Yerushalayim, every time that they gathered there, especially for the Olei Regel, when they came up for Yantiv. And this chapter we could probably sum up by saying Hashem wants to reveal himself to us, but we've got to make some effort. We've got to do something that's going to make Hashem reveal himself to us. Some of this chapter is the Tehillim telling us how we can make that effort, what we could do, and some of it is quite harsh on us. It's a long chapter. We probably won't do all of it, or at least not all of it in detail, but we'll try and pick out some of the things that shouted out to me as I was preparing. So the things that Asaf or David HaMelech will suggest to us in this chapter is to bring sacrifices, to daven, to study Torah, and to listen to what Hashem tells us to do. And we'll see that coming up as we go through the chapter. So it begins, Perek Nun, begins Mizmor LaAsaf, a song sung by Asaf, Kel Elokim Hashem, which are three different names for Hashem. Diber, he spoke, Vayikra Eretz, and he calls out to the world, Mimizrach Shemesh Ad from where the sun rises till where the sun sets. So firstly, to understand the introduction, Mizmor LaAsaf. So this is one of the chapters of Tehillim that's credited to Asaf. Asaf was one of the head musicians. There were three of them, three groups of Levim who sang in the Beit HaMikdash: Asaf, Heman, and Yedusun. And Asaf is credited with writing quite a lot of kapitlach of Tehillim. He was also a Navi, and he, besides for being a musician, he was the main musician. He also not only understood singing and the music of singing, but he understood instruments and how they worked. So he was very involved in that. And the Gemara tells that Asaf was on such a high madrega, it was such a high level that he was almost as, or in some places it's written, he was as great as David HaMelech himself. Asaf actually is credited with helping David HaMelech to put the chapters of Tehillim in the order that they're in now. And there is some opinion, but it's been disputed by most commentaries, that Asaf was one of Korach's sons. So that's a little bit about Asaf himself. And he writes this chapter of Tehillim, and he begins by saying, Kel Elokim Hashem, three different names for Hashem. So if you remember, and you should come across this yourself, that Hashem has different names for his different moods, if we're allowed to say that about him. The name Kel is the name of Hashem, which is absolute kindness. Midas HaChesed, the attribute of kindness. And you know that because we say Hashem Kel Rachum V'Chanun, right? When we're listing the 13 Midas of kindness. The name Elokim, on the other hand, is the name of Hashem, which represents din, or judgment. And then the third name that's here, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, this name of Hashem is again kindness, compassion, midas harachamim. So what is he actually saying here when he begins a kapitel of Tehillim, Kel Elokim Hashem? And the Alshich explains to us that this is the story of creation. Hashem wanted to make a world as a kindness to our souls, to our neshamas. What is the kindness to our neshamas? That a neshama can go higher. A neshama can, so up there in heaven, the neshama can't do anything for itself. Only in this world, the neshama can do something. So Hashem says, we'll have a world, you'll go into the world, and through the things that you do and you achieve in the world, you will become greater, more refined, and be able to go higher and higher. So that's Kel. Then Hashem created the world, and he created the world, as we know, the very first pasuk, Bereshit bara Elokim. In the beginning, Hashem created the world. And what word is used for the creation of the world is the name of God, Elokim, the name of judgment, because Hashem's original intent, if we can say that, was to have a world that runs by judgment. You're good, you get rewarded. You're bad, you get punished, right? You speak Lashon Hara, your tongue burns. You give tzedakah, you suddenly see like huge success. And then quickly Hashem decided that his world cannot run by din alone. Human beings can't exist with din alone. We need time. We need to be able to process things. We need to say sorry, right? So many things. We can't just get reward and punishment immediately. And so Hashem changed the world. And if you follow in the Psukim and Bereshit, you'll see that very quickly, instead of using the name Elokim when it's speaking about the creation of the world, it uses the name Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, that name of Hashem, which is kindness, compassion. And so this is what Asaf was telling us about the creation of the world. Created for us out of kindness, first with din and then with compassion. And Hashem comes and Diber, he speaks, Vayikra Eretz, and he calls out to the world, Mizrach Shemesh Ad Mava'ah, from one side of the world to the other, from where the sun rises to where the sun sets. And whenever it speaks about sun, and you see, and the Eibishter is not born in Haarfeld, but for me, if you see sun, it's a good day. So even when it's freezing cold, as long as I see sun, I'm happy. And apparently there are a lot of people like that. Even the Cape Townians are having rain today. When you see sun, somehow it lifts your spirit, you feel good. And the Torah tells us that this is true. The sun represents happiness, and the sun represents kindness. The sun represents when things are good. And so when does Hashem speak to us? He calls out to us when the sun is out, when it's good, when we're living a nice life, when we aren't really looking for Hashem. He calls out to us and he speaks to us. And what does he say to us? Pasuk Beis, Mitzion Michal Yafi. Out of Tzion comes the best beauty. Elokim Hafiyah, and Hashem emerges. And so what he's telling us, say Chazal, what does it mean that from Tzion comes the best beauty? He's talking about us, that Hashem chose us as a nation, the best beauty. Why is it the best beauty? Because we agreed to keep his Torah. When Hashem asked who wants the Torah, we the ones who said Na'aseh v'nishma, and Hashem says, like, that's great, right? This is beautiful that you didn't have chosen to keep Torah. And so continues, Yavai lekeinu v'al yechrash. Our Hashem comes and he's not silent. Eish lefanav teichel, that is a big fire that goes before him. V'svivav nis'ara ma'ed, and around him there's a great chaos. So Hashem's chosen us, but the world that we live in, Hashem comes, V'al Yecharash, and he is silent, even though here it's saying, and will not be silent. So what does it mean that Hashem is silent? Explains Rashi, Hashem appears to us to be silent. And what does it mean Hashem appears to be silent? Because we don't see immediate reward and punishment, we don't see Hashem, he's being quiet. And also because we see so many things that don't make sense to us. We see wicked people who prosper, we see righteous people who suffer, and so we're not seeing obvious godliness, and therefore we consider that Hashem is silent. And so say the commentaries that actually what this pasuk is a request to Hashem. Yav Elokeinu, please come Hashem, va'al yecharash, don't be silent. Let us see godliness, let us see fairness, let us see a world that will understand you much, much better, Hashem. also on this this same pasuk, which says over here, Eish lefanav teichel usvivav nisaram oid, that the fire is consuming and going before him, and around him there's this chaos. So this is talking about the world. It's the world where that we in this world where we don't see godliness, where we feel that Hashem is silent. This is a world of chaos. This is a world that bothers us because we feel that it is chaotic. A slightly deeper understanding that comes from the Mechilta explains the difference between Hashem and other other gods, if we can say that. Human gods, human kings. So a human being, any human being who we are a little afraid of or intimidated by, the longer we hang around them, the more comfortable we get. So at the beginning of the year, children are very scared of their teacher. By the end of the year, they're saying and doing what they want. Any leader that we have, in the beginning, when we first meet the leader, while we're unsure of them, and then we become more and more comfortable with them. This is different with Hashem. Eish lefanav teichel. There's fire, there's awesomeness at the beginning, but usvivav, if we surround him, if we hang around by Hashem, nisara ma'id, he becomes more and more and more awesome. So the more we learn about Hashem, the more we understand about the way Hashem runs his world, the more that we try to connect with Hashem, so the more awesome we see he is, we realize he is. And then what happens? Yikra al hashamayim ma'al v'al haaretz ladinamai. He calls the heavens above and the earth below in order to judge his people. So at a simple level, what does that mean? That he calls the earth above and the heavens above and the earth below in order to judge his people. So Rashi says simply that this means that when Hashem wants to reward us, or God forbid, he wants to punish us, he asks the heavens and the earth to testify about our behavior. And it's the heavens and the earth who know how we've been behaving. And so they testify and say, no, she's been doing good things, that she's been keeping Torah and mitzvahs. And the commentaries say that even during a time of galus, even when we are right entrenched in a big galus, still the heavens and earth testify that look at these people, where they are and what difficulties they're facing, and they are still keeping your mitzvahs, they are still following your Torah, they are still behaving like menschlich with each other. And so this is what Hashem tells us. This is how he judges us, by looking at the heavens, by asking the heavens and earth to be witnesses to our behavior. The Talmud goes one step further, and the Talmud says that heaven and earth represents the two parts of each of us. So we have in us heaven, that's represented by our neshama, and we have earth, that's represented by our body. And when it says Yikra el hashamayim ma'al, Hashem calls on our souls, ve'el haaretz, and he calls on our bodies, ladinamai, to judge his people. And the Talmud explains what this is talking about. And the Talmud says that the Roman Emperor Antoninus came to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and he said to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, no human or no person will ever have to take responsibility for his actions, because both the body and the soul will be able to say that it wasn't their fault, that they did anything wrong. When the soul comes before God, he'll say, it wasn't me, it was obviously my body, because since I've separated from my body, I haven't sinned. And the body will do the same thing. It wasn't me who sinned, right? It was my soul who must have made me sin, because since I've separated from my soul, I haven't sinned. So Antoninus says to Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, how's Hashem going to deal with this? How will people have to face judgment? And Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi answered him with a very famous mashal. He said that there was once a king who had an orchard, and he put two people to watch the gates of, to watch his orchard. One person was blind and the other person was crippled. And there they sat by the door. They weren't supposed to let anybody in. but they wanted to eat some of the fruit and to sell some of the fruit and to do whatever they wanted to do. So they came up with their own plan. The cripple went on the shoulders of the blind man, and he directed him. They went into the orchard, they helped themselves to whatever they wanted, and they left. And when the king came and saw what had happened, that so much of his fruit had been stolen, he called them both and he said, guys, I have to punish you. You stole fruit. And the cripple said, wasn't me. I can't walk. How could I have gone to steal fruit? And the blind man said, it wasn't me. I can't see. Didn't even know there was fruit. Okay, how can you blame me? So the king picked up the cripple, put him on the blind man's shoulders, and he says, okay, now the two of you, okay, you together you managed to steal my fruit. And so Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi told Antoninus, he said, this is what this pasuk means when Hashem says, I will call on the heavens above and on the earth below, la dinamoi, when it comes time to reward or punish you. I will look at you as a whole, and we will be judged according to our souls and according to our bodies. So now we know we're going to be judged. So the kapitel continues with giving us ideas of how to connect with Hashem in a positive way. So it says, Isfuli chasidai, gather to me, my chasidim, my devout ones. Kursei brisi, those who signed a covenant with me. Alei zavach, make a sacrifice or made a sacrifice. So first way that Tehillim, or that Asaf David gives us to connect to Hashem, bring a sacrifice. You bring a sacrifice to Hashem. So let's discuss it firstly historically. At the time of Matan Torah, immediately after or around the time of Matan Torah, Hashem made a pact with us. He made a bris, a covenant with us, and right after that they brought a korban shlamim, and this was what they used in order to show Hashem. The Yidden were showing Hashem that we want to be connected to him. Also, when it says Kursei brisi, those who made a covenant with me, it's referring to the people who did bris milah, first in the desert, and then afterwards, and I think even till now, the fact that a person is willing to do a bris on their child or on themselves, this like shedding blood for Hashem, so to speak, is a bris. It's a covenant, and it connects us very strongly to Hashem. I'm always fascinated when we go to bris milah of people who have very little connection with Hashem, people who come to shul sometimes for a little bit on Yom Kippur, and yet they hand over their 8-day-old baby to a male to do bris milah. Like, what an unbelievable mesiras nefesh that they have. This is Kursei brisi. This is those who want to make a pact with Hashem. Then says the commentaries that this pasuk is actually talking about Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Those were the three who got thrown into a furnace, knowing there's a good chance that or most likely they would die. They didn't know that Hashem was going to save their lives. And this is Kursei brisi. They were ready to give up their lives in order to serve Hashem rather than Avodah Zarah. Another opinion that this pasuk is talking about, Rabbi Akiva, who, when he was killed horribly by the Romans, he said, now I have a chance to die of Kiddush Hashem, right? This is Kursei brisi, somebody who joyfully made a sacrifice in order to connect with Hashem. So what does it mean for us practically to make to bring sacrifices? Okay, we haven't got a Beis HaMikdash. We haven't. We can't bring sacrifices. If you bring a sacrifice in your backyard, that's actually sinning. So what does it mean for us practically when the Tehillim, which we say applies to all people at all times, how does it work for us? So you probably know well that the translation for a sacrifice or a korban actually should be translated as something that brings us near, karav. It connects us to Hashem. And if we go and have a look at the various kinds of sacrifices that there are, that's how we can learn how to bring a sacrifice nowadays. So there are sacrifices which are just what we call shlamim. Hello, here I am, I want to connect with you. There were sacrifices that were the tamid or the eila, the ones that happened every single day, right? Those were ordinary, just because it's an ordinary Thursday, I'm going to bring a sacrifice today. Then there was the asham and the chatos, those sacrifices which are the sorry ones. I'm sorry, I was wrong, I made a mistake. Then there are the yontif sacrifices, the Muslim ones, where today's a special day, Hashem, I want to connect with you specially. And then the big one, the Taida, the thank you sacrifice. And so in our lives, we don't actually have to take an animal and bring it to Hashem, but we have to keep on asking ourselves, am I bringing the hello sacrifice? Am I bringing the thank you sacrifice? Am I bringing this today's a special day sacrifice? What am I doing because of these times to connect with Hashem? That's on a simple level. And then another thought, which probably is not so politically correct, but so anyway, sacrifice got the name sacrifice for a reason. And that reason is that we do have to make sacrifices in order to connect with Hashem. We can't just do what we want. We can't just say what we want. We can't just eat what we want. We can't just go where we want. We make certain sacrifices in order to connect with Hashem. And that is the kind of sacrifices that we can do today, that we can do nowadays. The next couple of psukim, which you're going to look at quite quickly, is Hashem actually telling us off a bit. So Hashem, it continues and it says, Pasuk Vav, V'yagidu shamayim tzidkei kerekim shofet husela. The heavens proclaim how great Hashem is and that He is the eternal judge. Shema ami v'adabera, speak or listen, my nation, while I speak. Yisrael v'a'ida bach, and Yisrael, I will testify about you. Elekim elekecha, and Anochi, I am Hashem, your God. And now the next couple of psukim, Hashem describes to us that He doesn't need our sacrifices. He doesn't need everything belongs to Hashem anyway. So why does He take our sacrifices? That's actually a kindness that Hashem does for us. So we'll look quickly at the next few psukim. I won't tell you off about your sacrifices, or do I worry about your burnt offerings? They are in front of me always. I don't need a cow from your household, or goats from your goats enclosures. Because all the animals of the forest are mine. Behemoths, Bahare Aleph, and the cattle on the hills. I know every bird on the mountains of Ziz Sadai Madi, and each creature that's in the fields with me. If I were hungry, I wouldn't need you to feed me, because everything in the world is mine. Do I eat the meat of bulls or drink the blood of goats? So Hashem is telling us very clearly that all the sacrifices that we bring, everything that we do for Hashem, He doesn't really need from us. It's a kindness that Hashem accepts it from us and rewards us for it and is happy with us. I often think about it when we were little. We used to go to the chemist on Rocky Street and buy my parents presents on their account. Okay, and my parents always acted so happy. Okay, they were so happy to get that bubble bath or soap on a rope or whatever other rubbish we brought them from the chemist that they paid for, and they were so happy about it. Why were they so happy about it? Because we did it. That's why they were happy. But when you think about it later on, like years later, that it was a kindness of them that they were happy. Simply that they were being nice to us, that they were happy. That's a reflection, a little bit of a reflection of what Hashem is saying to us about all the things we do, whether it's davening, learning, mitzvahs, whatever it is. Hashem doesn't need it from us. He's happy that we're doing it, but we're doing it for ourselves, actually. And then he gives us the best advice. He says, Zvach lelekim taida. Bring sacrifices of thanksgiving for Shalom Elyon, and bring it to the one most high, pay to the one most high, Nadarecha, the things that you promised. And this is a theme that David HaMelech brings up over and over and over again in Tehillim. Keep your promises. Say thank you and keep your promises. So it's very easy for us to ask Hashem for what we want. Most of us most often forget to say thank you. And here, David HaMelech, Asaf, is reminding us, when Hashem does something nice for you, say thank you. When Hashem does something nice for you, say thank you. When he does something else nice for you, say thank you. Don't forget two things. So the biggest, the most important sacrifice that we can bring is the Taida offering, the thanksgiving. And the other important piece of advice that's brought here is to pay our pledges, to pay our promises. So we make promises all the time, sometimes just in our heads, sometimes out loud. Like one of the things that always fascinates me, we make promises, we say the words. Okay, so when people get men get an aliyah, they promise money. When we say yiska, we promise money. We make pledges all the time of things that we can't do them right away, and I would think that the majority of people forget about it. Also, it's easy to make a promise and to say, I'm going to pay however many millions of rand to get Chassan Torah, Chassan Bereshis, and in the moment we really mean it. And then when we have to pay, it's much more difficult. And how many shuls will tell you that they had huge, it looked like they were making their money forever from the money that was promised over Yom Tov, and how much of it is actually paid properly. And David HaMelech says this, V'sholem le'elyon nadarecha, keep the promises that you made. And on a slightly deeper, or maybe it's a much deeper level, before our neshamas came into this world, we made a promise, right? The promise was, it says, we will be righteous. The neshama promises, I will be a tzaddik and not a rasha. And David HaMelech, Asaf, is saying to us over here, V'sholem le'elyon nadarecha. Keep your promise. You promised you would be righteous. Be righteous. Okay. Because then what will happen? When you call me on the day of your trouble, I will rescue you. And because with this is the way that you will honor me. But Arasha Amar Alekim, to the wicked, Hashem says, why are you discussing my chukim, Batisa Brisi Ale Picha, and you will say my teachings with your mouths. The rest of the kapitel, I'll just go quickly say to that. Over here, the commentaries tell us that this is speaking about those who don't keep Torah properly, who make up their own Torah rules and teach it as truth. I'm speaking specifically about Doeg HaDoimi, the Doeg at the time of David HaMelech, who kept on slandering him to King Shaul, and because of him, the whole city of Neiv was massacred. And so, why are you teaching Torah when this is the kind of person you are? Also, this is talking about Elisha ben Abuya, more famously known as Acher. Also, brilliant mind, studied Torah, was a teacher, but he himself was a non-believer. And Hashem says, Malach al-Saper, why are you speaking this? Why are you telling this? How dare you actually speak and teach my Torah? The next few psukim speak about the fact that we don't like being told off, and we land up sinning because we don't want to listen to rebuke. But finishes off Pasuk of Gimel Zaveach Teda Yechabdonani, a person who brings this Teda, this Thanksgiving offering, is the one who really honors me. The Sam Derech, and one who makes a way, I will show him how Hashem saves him. So that's an abbreviated second half of this capital. I guess that's where we are going up to today. So wish you all a good Shabbos. And again, I'll just repeat for anyone who wasn't here right at the beginning, there is no shir for the next two Thursdays.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Have a wonderful Ricky.
And
Thank you.
yeah, trip safely and enjoy. Much
Thank you
nachas.
very much. Thank you.
All the
Send
best
our
there.
best to the kids.
I will
Yeah.
tell them.
And
Thank you,
Travel
America
safe.
or Sydney?
America.
Thank you so much.
America.
Enjoy.
Excellent.
Bye, all. Good Shabbos.
Bye-bye. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Have a good
Good
Shabbos.
Shabbos. Good Shabbos.